When the night gently settles, chirped one homars, in that quiet space where sleep begins to melt like mist, the 0.5 for us. There is a galaxy softly calling your name. Wasup Ontunikor, Andromeda, 0.5, the ancient neighbor of the Milky Way. 0.5 carries secrets as tender as moonlight and as deep as the breath of the universe. Chapter 1 Nor. In this video, Aka 0.5 I will guide you through stories written in light. Aka 0.5 scientific truths as soft as a passing breeze. Enough to help you see the outer world more clearly. 0.54 while feeling a quiet peace blooming within. If your heart feels just a little softer, leave a like. A subscribe. 0.5 like a gentle touch sent into the cosmos. 0.5 so this journey may continue. So 0.5 why did people once believe Andromeda was only a nebula inside the Milky Way? To speak about Andromeda is to speak about a mirror held up to the universe, where wonders. A mirror so ancient and so vast that for centuries the human mind could only guess at its true nature. 0.5. And in that long misunderstanding lies one of the most poetic chapters in the history of astronomy. For a very long time, 0.5 Andromeda was believed to be nothing more than a drifting cloud. 0.5 a soft luminous patch belonging to our own Milky Way. 0.5 a mere nebula suspended in the dark. 1 Mars. And perhaps it is fitting that the universe chose to hide such a grand truth inside something that looks so gentle. 0.5 so harmless. 0.5 so mist-like one Taurus. If you have ever looked at Andromeda with the naked eye, you will understand why. 0.5 it appears as a quiet smear of silver. 0.5 the faintest whisper of a distant world. A world that once fooled even the greatest scientific minds. The reason people thought Andromeda was a nebula inside our own galaxy is beautifully simple. 0.5 everything we saw in the night sky was assumed to belong to the Milky Way because the concept of other galaxies did not yet exist. Astronomy had not grown its wings. 0.5 and the universe had not yet revealed its immensity. Once more, the instruments of the time could not pierce the dense veil of distance. 0.5 leaving Andromeda's true identity shrouded in soft uncertainty. But science is a patient traveler. 0.5 and curiosity is its compass. Slowly, 0.5 as telescopes sharpened and questions became more daring. 0.5 doubts began to whisper in the hearts of early astronomers. They noticed something strange. Something that did not quite fit the modest shape of a local cloud of gas. Andromeda had structure 0.5 not chaos. It had form 0.5 not randomness. Some scientists described seeing what looked like spiraling arms. 0.5 as though the little cloud was trying to speak a truth far larger than itself. The Scottish astronomer William Parsons remarked that nature rarely builds spirals without purpose. 0.5 a poetic hint that Andromeda might be more than a dusty blur. And later, 0.5 the great physicist Lord Kelvin famously mused, we are probably living inside one of millions of island universes. A phrase so bold for its time that many thought it pure fantasy. Little did they know he was planting the seeds of a cosmic revelation. But the turning point arrived with a man whose quiet determination continues to echo through modern astronomy. There's 0.5 Edwin Hubble, 1 Taurus. Armed with nothing but relentless curiosity in the Hooker telescope, 0.5. He examined Andromeda with a focus so meditative that he might as well have been listening for a heartbeat within the light. And then he saw it. A single star, 0.5, a Cepheid variable, Rima Wandonk, a star whose rhythmic brightening and dimming allowed him to measure Andromeda's distance with uncanny accuracy, and the number he found shattered the walls of the known universe, That tiny speck in the sky was not a small cloud inside our galaxy, or 05I. It was a colossal world of its own, under one noir, a galaxy containing more than 1 trillion stars, at a 5 high, drifting 2.5 million light years away. Yormao Huana. As Hubble himself wrote, Zero Fivam. The universe is not only stranger than we imagine. It is stranger than we can imagine. From that moment, for 0.5 hour, Andromeda stepped forward not as a mist, but as a magnificent island universe. A cosmic sibling of the Milky Way. A revelation that expanded the scale of everything we thought we knew. It is the kind of truth that humbles the soul. 0.55, reminding us that knowledge grows not through certainty, but through the courage to question what seems familiar. This is why Andromeda Galaxy facts continue to fascinate scientists and dreamers alike. They offer a gentle reminder that the universe is always more vast, more intricate, more breathtaking than our first glance allows. As a scientist, and as someone who has spent years whispering astronomy into microphones for people trying to fall asleep, I find something profoundly human in this journey of mistaken identity. It teaches us that sometimes what we assume to be small, ordinary, or insignificant, might in fact be a giant of unimaginable scale waiting for us to see it clearly. Just like Andromeda. Just like the people in our lives whose quiet light we often misjudge. Just like parts of ourselves that we underestimate until a moment of clarity reveals their true size. Year 1 horrors. If there is a lesson hidden among the stars, year 0.5, it is that every soft glow in the distance deserves a second look. Yours is yours. Every faint possibility might be a universe of its own. Year 0.5, patiently waiting for us to learn how to see Daraman Murnar. When you close your eyes tonight, imagine Andromeda, not as a cloud, but as a luminous city of stars, spiraling in slow motion through the dark. Imagine it watching us the way we watch it. 2 galaxies drifting toward a meeting written long before the Earth was born. One nar. Let that image soften your breath. But calm your thoughts. And remind you that in a universe so vast, under 0.50, you are allowed to let go for a moment and simply be. And perhaps as you listen, floating gently between learning and dreaming. The question returns like a soft echo in the night. Why did we once believe Andromeda was only a nebula? And what other truths still sleep in the sky? When we speak of Edwin Hubble, and the moment he proved that Andromeda was not a drifting patch of cosmic fog, but an entire galaxy beyond our own, we are stepping into one of the most poetic turning points in the history of human understanding. 0.5I, a moment when the universe quietly expanded beneath the gaze of a man who simply refused to look away. For centuries, astronomers believed the Milky Way was the whole of existence. 05, a luminous island floating alone in an otherwise empty sea. Andromeda itself was nothing more than a mysterious smudge of light. A nebula drifting within our own home. Yet wasn't 5 was, like all stories that begin with uncertainty. 0.5 Baskus. This one carried a secret waiting to be illuminated. Hubble approached that soft blur in the sky with patience. Discipline, and a kind of cosmic curiosity that felt more like meditation than measurement. 1 Tronos. Using the 100-inch Hooker telescope on Mount Wilson, he said 0.5 Ramer, the largest and most powerful telescope of its time. He's 0.5 hard. He searched for a signature that could transcend speculation and open a doorway into truth. Your one nanorors. And what he found was one of the universe's most gentle messengers, year 0.5 Rus, a type of star called a Cepheid variable, year Nars. A Cepheid is no ordinary star, year 0.5 Ris. It pulses with a rhythm so steady and predictable that Henrietta Swan Leavitt once called them cosmic lighthouses, 0.5, brightening and dimming with astonishing regularity, 0.5. Their magic lies in a simple relationship, 0.5. The brighter the Cepheid, 0.5, the longer its pulse, 0.5. By measuring the period of that pulse, 0.5, astronomers can determine its true luminosity. 0.5. Then compare that luminosity to how bright the star appears from Earth with 0.5. The difference reveals distance, 0.5. A clean, 0.5 mathematical whisper across the void, 0.5. When Hubble detected a Cepheid inside Andromeda, for 0.5 Ash, he realized with breathtaking clarity that the galaxy was far beyond the borders of the Milky Way, not thousands of light years away, 0.5, but more than 2 million sonars. It was the kind of revelation that feels like dawn rising inside the human mind. Was 0.5, soft, was 0.5, inevitable, was 0.5, and quietly transformative was, astronomer Carl Sagan once said, was 0.5, somewhere, a 0.5, something incredible is waiting to be known. Hubble's discovery embodied that truth so exquisitely that even today, for 0.5, nearly a century later, 0.5, we feel its echo every time we look up at the night sky. Wandri Nogonder. The universe was no longer a single island, a 0.5, but an archipelago of billions. Each swirling with its own possibilities. This moment shifted the entire field of cosmology. 0.5, reshaping the way humanity understood its place in the cosmos. What had once seemed like the whole of reality became but one whisper in a symphony of galaxies. As Albert Einstein later reflected, 0.5. The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It's 0.5, and Hubble had given the world a deeper mystery than anyone had imagined. What I find most moving about this story is not only the scientific triumph, but the emotional one. Hubble's discovery teaches us that limits are often illusions. 0.5, that the boundaries we assume around our world, as 0.5, our lives, 0.5, our dreams, 0.5, may simply be fog waiting for clarity. A soft blur in the distance can become a revelation. 0.5, if only we are patient enough to look again. And in a way, his work also reminds us why relaxing astronomy video content feels so soothing to so many of us. Because to learn about the universe is to feel both humbled and comforted. To know we are small, but never insignificant. We are made of stardust. Listening to the stories of stars. When I imagine Hubble alone at his telescope, Bersucker 0.5 high, the cold air settling around him. What's the 0.5 high? The slow blinking of that distant Cepheid star. I feel something deeply human in that moment. An echo of the same quiet curiosity each of us holds when we stare into the night. He was not simply proving a scientific fact. He was expanding the emotional vocabulary of humanity. He was showing us that the universe is far larger than our fears. He was 0.5 years, and far gentler than our doubts. Another leading figure in astronomy, Vera Rubin, for 0.5 pars, once said, 0.5 the stars are the jewels of the night, 0.5 and we must not stop asking why they shine. And Hubble, 0.5 by questioning Andromeda, 0.5 by refusing to accept the limits of old maps, Here's 0.5 for you. Showed us how essential it is to ask again. Here's 0.5. Even when the answer might disrupt what we think we know. There is also a personal lesson in this cosmic tale. Here's 0.5. Sometimes the truths that change our lives arrive quietly. 0.5 holes hidden inside a small pulse. Here's 0.5. A flicker. Here's 0.5. A faint signal we might overlook if we move too fast. Hubble teaches us to slow down. 5 fast, to breathe. 5 first to observe gently, for 0.5 plus, and trust that clarity will come with time. Functions, listening to this story in a meditative state. 0.5 plus, with a warm and steady voice drifting through space. 0.5 plus 5. You may feel the same softness that once surrounded Hubble himself. Wonderich, a sense that the universe is not merely vast, but profoundly alive. Fair 0.5 chlor's patient, Iro, Fahai, and willing to reveal its secrets to those who watch with an open heart, One Yanart. And so, for a 0.5, as we drift gently through this narrative, her 0.5 for it, letting science turn into poetry. Her 0.5 fair free, letting starlight become a lullaby. 0.5 for it, we carry with us a simple realization, that the universe is always larger. 0.5 for it, kinder. 0.5 phrase, and more astonishing than we imagine, and it all began with a single pulsing star in the quiet arms of Andromeda. When we speak of the Andromeda galaxy, we're 0.5 wash. We often imagine a soft cloud hanging in the night sky. Yet the truth is far more vast. 0.5, far more humbling. 0.5, and far more beautiful than the faint streak of light our eyes can gather. Andromeda stretches across more than 220,000 light years. Kana Sun 0.5 hours, an expanse so immense that even language trembles while trying to hold it. A single light year already feels like a poetic abstraction. A beam traveling through the dark for an entire year without slowing. Shuro 5 pa, passing planets. Shuro 0.5 pi, slipping between stars. Fokaro 0.5 pa, brushing the quiet edges of cosmic dust. Alpanukar. And now, our 0.5 high. Imagine 220,000 such journeys stitched together. Dokaltlankar. It is not just size. Dakamfak Pax. It is a portrait of eternity. Hakurfunkart. Astronomer Sandra Faber once said, Thak 0.5 Ray. The scale of a galaxy is the scale of our humility. Kokcho Pointors. And she was right. Hakzer Konki 5 Ray. Because standing beneath the night sky. Hakshirkro 5 high. Even the bravest heart softens when it realizes it is smaller than a whisper in a cathedral of stars. Hakchirkarekn Pros. Andromeda's breadth dwarfs not just imagination, but also its closest companion. Shaka 0.5 Res. Our Milky Way. Chakuwaltanaikonks. Though the two galaxies feel like siblings drifting together in the silent dark, just 0.5. Andromeda is nearly twice as wide. Shurfuel 0.5 Poi. Its arms longer. Shatsuru 0.5 Fa. Its halo more massive. Shurkur 0.5. Its presence more ancient. Aukon Mwasa. The Milky Way might be a grand spiral than Anfaran. 0.5 turns, but Andromeda is a cathedral of spirals. 0.5 spirals unfolding in layers of starlight so delicate that even telescopes strain to contain them. 1 inch mouse, and yet the Moscow 0.5 despite its monumental scale. Sherbashiro Swap 5 bars. Your eyes see only a soft blur. Masha Fonishkos, why Cherber 0.5? Because humans perceive only brightness. Usha 0.5, not spatial truth. Shopas Olsen. Our vision cannot gather a faint outer halo. Shadzersho 5. The wisps of ancient stars drifting far from the glowing core. Shakrzersho A5. The clouds of dust shimmering softly at the edges. Hakrzersho Fankaf. The river of light that extends well beyond what a casual glance can hold. Afroshan Trishon. To us, Avra 0.5. Andromeda is a thumbprint. Avra 0.5. But to the universe, Avra 0.5 Fuss. It is a continent. Open sharks. Neil deGrasse Tyson once reflected, Yeshur 0.5 Fuss. The universe is under no obligation to make sense to you. Yeshur Shankolkurks. And Andromeda embodies that truth. Gishur 0.5 place because it hides more than it reveals. Shakas 0.5 fix, offering us only the brightest 5% of its true form. Shapmoshen Shurs. The rest is an ocean of gentle light. Shakur 0.5 Fuss, too soft for the human eye. Shakur 0.5 is too ancient to be captured without instruments. Shakos 0.5 hios, too expansive to be held by a single glance. Shafos amsenchorkos. But there is a meditation in that limitation. 0.5 flas. A quiet lesson I often return to, or often current course. We never see the full size of something while standing too close to it. 0.5 were not galaxies. For 0.5, not people. For 0.5, not even ourselves. The cosmos teaches us to look deeper. Shaktas 0.5 to pause. Shakwas 0.5 to widen our view. And in that pause, Hosker 0.5, we discover that what seems small may simply be too gentle for our eyes to understand. If human vision were more sensitive, Osto 0.5 year. If our eyes could catch every photon that has traveled for over 2 million years to reach us, Oscar 0.5 year. The night sky would change entirely. Andromeda would bloom above us like a silver flower. Asfi 0.55, stretching across a width 6 times larger than the moon in the sky. Lumri 1 Nomar. It would not be a faint smudge anymore. Bakin 0.5, but a shimmering river of stars pouring across the darkness. Hatuk 0.5 Mar, a reminder that we live inside a cosmic ocean. Shfan 0.5, not a lonely void. First Moskar, children looking up would ask different questions. First 0.55, not what is out there. Us versus but how are we connected to all of this? Was lost. The night would no longer feel empty. First 0.5 for us, but serenely full. Imagine how a calming space documentary would describe that scene. Show 0.5, camera drifting slowly. 0.5 pulse. The narrator speaking softly. First 0.5, the galaxy unfolding like a lantern made of ancient light. First you would see star nurseries glowing pink. First 0.5, dust lanes swirling like brushstrokes. First 0.5, clusters sparkling like grains of frost. And as you breathe in, you'd feel something loosen inside you. First the way fear loosens when replaced by wonder. Brains. Carl Sagan wrote, 0.5. Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known. Andromeda is the embodiment of that waiting. An ancient giant drifting toward us not as a threat, but as a cosmic reminder that change is the natural language of the universe. In 4 billion years, 0.5, the Milky Way and Andromeda will merge. After 0.5 years, not violently, over 0.5 years, but like two dancers slowly folding into one another. One turn. The scale is frightening. 0.5. Yes, we're 0.5. But it is also profoundly peaceful. We're not. When I think about that future, for 0.5, I'm reminded that even galaxies grow through connection. Art 0.5, not isolation. They expand by meeting merging sharing their light. Is a lesson we often forget here on Earth. Where distance feels safer than closeness. But the cosmos whispers otherwise. 0.5 reminding us that everything beautiful grows larger through union. The true size of Andromeda, 0.5. Then 0.3 is not only a measurement. It is a meditation. It teaches us that the universe is far more generous than our senses suggest. 0.5. That reality expands the moment we allow ourselves to see more over Noir. And if tonight, we're 0.5 phase, as you listen, we're 0.5 fongs, you feel a softness rising in your chest, we're 0.5 phase, know that this too is part of the lesson. We're sure one chores. Wonder is not noise. The 0.5 I. It is a form of rest. Upward enter. So close your eyes for a moment. Or 0.5 I. Breathe slowly. Agur 0.5 I. And let Andromeda open above you like a quiet lantern in the dark. Let it remind you that you are part of something immeasurably vast. 0.54. Something ancient. 0.5 something tender. Or hearts. And let this question drift to you like a feather across a still lake. If this galaxy has always been so large, 0.5 so bright, 0.5 so close to us in the cosmic dark, 0.5 why did humankind once believe it was only a tiny nebula lost inside our own Milky Way? To understand how many stars live inside the Andromeda galaxy is to open a door into a city so vast that language itself slows down. Faka 054, taking a deep breath before stepping inside. Astronomers estimate that Andromeda holds more than 1 trillion stars, Oxford 0.5 a population far greater than the 200 to 400 billion thought to reside in our own Milky Way and our one run. When you hear that number, sharp 05 wow, 1 trillion, sharp 0.5. It does not simply describe quantity. Sharp 0, fek. It describes immensity. Sharp 0, fapru, a scale that dissolves the mind into wonder. Fapwisharonor. 1 trillion stars mean 1 trillion potential suns. Akar 0.5. 1 trillion worlds that could be spinning in quiet harmony. Arya 0.5 har. 1 trillion threads of light woven into a single celestial tapestry. Avris 1 ornard. And so scientists often compare Andromeda to a cosmic metropolis, Chu 0.5 quart, a universe-sized city whose lights never go out, Kishakore Corn Course. As astrophysicist Dr. Kihigro.55, Sandra Faber once said, Shishro.55. A galaxy is a machine made of stars that has been running for billions of years. Shiho.1. If that is true, Car 0.55, sir, then Andromeda is a machine of breathtaking abundance. Bonus 0.5 way, endlessly humming at the edge of our night sky. When we call Andromeda a giant city of stars, she 0.5, we are trying to translate something too large for human perception into language we can hold softly in our hands. Fa 0.5 free, because standing beneath the real night sky and facing Andromeda means facing an ocean of light so wide it spills through time itself. In a sense, Hori 0.55. Every star inside that galaxy is a window, Hori 0.554, and the glow we see from Earth is the blurred shimmer of countless windows shining at once. No single star inside Andromeda is bright enough for the naked eye to isolate. She 0.55. Instead, she 0.5. Their light blends through cosmic distance. 0.5 far could, softening into a single gentle smudge across the darkness. Hyosing marker. And that blending is itself a kind of poetry. Use 0.5 for it, because when enough small flames gather together, 0.5 place or they cease being individual, or 0.54, and become one continuous breath of illumination. This is how astronomy becomes a sleep aid. Yerkor 0.54, how cold science becomes warm comfort. 0.54, and how the mind loosens as it imagines a trillion suns whispering into the void. Muslims. The light of Andromeda travels more than 2.5 million years before it reaches you. Ushkar 0.5 Mars, meaning the soft glow you see tonight is ancient. Uskar 0.5, older than every memory you hold. Number 1 Dalrus. As cosmologist Carl Sagan once reminded us, for 0.5. We are star stuff contemplating the stars. Were you Nuris? And he meant that both literally and spiritually. Rizir 5 bar. For there is something calming about remembering we are made of the same materials that shine in that distant galaxy. Your one Duroner. When you gaze at Andromeda, the 0.5, you are not just looking outward. 0.5, you are also looking backward. 0, 5, and inward. You are when backward in time to when the universe was younger, the 0.5 endure, and inward toward that quiet place in your mind where awe becomes a kind of meditation. Dange. The soft glow of Andromeda has lulled humans into sleep since before written history. 0.5 Isar. Perhaps because our bodies remember the stars in a way our language has forgotten. Scientists describe the combined glow of a trillion stars as diffuse integrated light. 0.5, but I prefer to think of it as a kind of cosmic breathing. Wonder. Each star exhales photons. 0.5 far, and across impossible distances. 0.5 far, those countless breaths merge. 0.5 far, soften. Yerk 0.5, and become a hazy whisper in the sky. Work so far. This merging of light is what makes Andromeda visible, even without a telescope. 1.5, something very few galaxies can achieve. Quartz. It is as if the entire city of stars agreed to leave one tiny lamp on just bright enough that we may find our way to sleep. 1 And as you follow that glow, 0.5, you may notice how your mind slows. 0.5 how your breath deepens. 0.5 how your thoughts unravel into something softer. 0.5 that is the quiet gift of sleep aid astronomy. It reminds you that your worries are small compared to a galaxy with 1 trillion suns. 0.5 and yet you are still precious enough to be touched by its light. I often think of what astronomer Edwin Hubble felt when he realized Andromeda was not a cloud inside our Milky Way, the 0.55, but a whole other island universe, Mark 1 Taurus. He wrote, 0.5. The history of astronomy is a history of receding horizons, and I return to that line often, 0.5 because it carries both humility and liberation. The more we learn, the more the universe expands, 0.5 and the more the universe expands, the more space we have to breathe. As I reflect on Andromeda's trillion stars, a 0.5, I find a lesson that feels quietly transformative. Every star is small on its own, or 0.5 breast, but together they create a glow that can cross millions of years to reach us. Maybe that is how human lives work as well. 0.5. None of us are meant to shine alone. 0.5 lie. But when we gather in kindness, 0.5 when we blend our warmth, 0.5 we become something luminous enough to guide others. And so Andromeda becomes not only a subject of astronomy, but a metaphor for living. It reminds us that the universe values both the individual spark and the shared radiance. That every tiny act, 0.5 each small star, 5 matters, and that even light-born, millions of years ago, can find someone who needs it. 0.55. Someone who may be listening right now. Once an homage, as you let these thoughts drift through you. 0.5. Imagine that glow stretching across the void. 0.5. Countless stars breathing together. 0.5 becoming one gentle smear of silver over the dark. Imagine how long that light has traveled. And how quietly it arrives. And in that arrival, maybe you can find the soft permission to rest. 0.5 to release 0.5 to fall into the same silence the universe has known since its beginning. And as the voice slows, 0.5 as your heartbeat begins to sync with the rhythm of distant stars. 5. You might ask yourself a question that drifts like stardust across the mind. If this single glow in the sky comes from a trillion lights blended into one, 0.5, then what quiet galaxies of possibility might be waiting inside me? When we drift into the quiet spaces between thoughts, when the world dims and the sky becomes a soft curtain of starlight, we often ask ourselves what truly shapes a galaxy. 0.5 am, what holds billions of suns together, as if they were petals on a cosmic flower, 1 Neuros. And in the case of the Andromeda galaxy, 0.5 the answer seems to shimmer, not from what we can see, or 0.5, but from what we cannot, 1 Drs. This is where the story of dark matter arrives like a whisper. 0.5, a presence without a face. 0.5 saw, a gravity without a glow, for Monfils. The halo that surrounds Andromeda is not made of starlight or dust. 0.5 fall, nor of gas or glowing arcs like the ones decorating its spiral arms. Wonder and Nur, it is something more silent. 0.5 more ancient. 0.5 a vast and nearly transparent sphere of dark matter extending far beyond the visible galaxy. Oniano Dors. Astronomers describe it as a ghostly shell. 0.5 Ras, yet strong enough to bind the galaxy with an invisible embrace. Here once Mars, Vera Rubin. Firo Fais, the pioneering astronomer whose work was instrumental in revealing dark matter. Cyril Fiers once said, Fiors. The universe is filled with mysteries, and the solution to one problem often involves understanding another that we did not even know existed. Gerntoannorin. Her words move softly across the field of modern astronomy, 0.5 or phi's, reminding us that every faint rotation curve and every unexpected gravitational tug is part of a deeper story. In the Andromeda galaxy, explained through decades of observation, 0.5, we learn that the visible stars account for only a tiny fraction of its true mass. Most of what shapes Andromeda is dark matter. 0.5 year, an unseen ocean that keeps the spiral arms from flying apart. Imagine a dancer spinning in an open field. Or 0.5, arms outstretched. 0.5 here, moving faster and faster. If nothing holds the dancer together. 0.5, the motion becomes chaotic. 0.55, unstable. And yet the galaxy spins with grace. 0.5, its stars moving at speeds that should tear it to pieces. With wings, but they do not. 0.5, because the dark matter halo is the silent choreography beneath the performance. Dark matter acts not with light, but with gravity. A gravity that passes gently through everything. All per 0.5, even through us. It neither glows nor reflects. All for 0.54, neither collides nor clumps in ways our senses can feel. Instead, thicker 0.55, it creates a gravitational envelope so wide that it shapes how stars orbit. Without it, 0.54, the outer stars of Andromeda would drift away into intergalactic night. 0.54, lost like fireflies leaving a lantern. But with it, our 0.54, they move as if held by a gentle unseen hand. This is why astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson once remarked, 0.54, we are part of a universe that is not only stranger than we imagine. 0.5. It is stranger than we can imagine. The halo is not a thin rim, but a vast cocoon. Here 0.5 stretching nearly 2 million light years from end to end. 1 hours. It is so extended that when the Andromeda galaxy eventually merges with the Milky Way, 0.5, the halos of the two galaxies will touch long before the stars do wonder. This means our cosmic meeting begins not with light, but with dark matter. Chakra 0.5 Hor. A silent handshake in the depths of intergalactic space. Sharf 1 Hor. Scientists map this halo not by seeing it, but by watching what it does. Shakwan Norn. They observe the way starlight bends. Shaksuru 5 Fu. The way gas clouds drift. Shaksuru 5. And the way small satellite galaxies orbit Kopon Kwarn. And each pattern suggests the same truth. 0.5. Andromeda is cradled in something far heavier than the stars. Nobel laureate Steven Weinberg expressed a similar sentiment. Noting, the effort to understand the universe is one of the very few things that lifts human life a little above the level of farce. His reflection feels even softer when spoken under a quiet sky. Because the more we learn about Andromeda, the more we realize how much of existence unfolds beyond our sight. When we view the galaxy through this lens, we begin to understand that dark matter is not a secondary ingredient. 0.5i. It is the foundation upon which the luminous structures rest. John Nasler. Every star you see in Andromeda, under 0.5, every glowing cluster, under 0.5, every curled arm of stardust. They all move inside the gravitational cup of this invisible sphere, Without dark matter, 0.55, the galaxy would be nothing but scattered lights drifting apart. With it, 0.5. Andromeda becomes a coherent being. Almost like a living entity whose skeleton lies in shadow. Sundanos, as a science communicator, 0.5, I often feel humbled by this truth. The most influential force shaping our nearest galactic neighbor is something we have never touched. Dakar 0, Fasims, never held, Azure 0, Faffer, never seen with our eyes, hot horizon 1 jar, and yet, Fakurjo, Afiver, dark matter surrounds us the same way it surrounds Andromeda. Afros Monshar, gently, Averjo Mshonfisfa, invisibly, Arshur going 5 voice, steadfastly. Alton Densor, it reminds me that not everything valuable must be visible. Alpon Tush, not every force. In life is loud, Fieshro 0.5 not every support system shines, Hieshro 1 chart. There is a lesson here, Hieshro 0.5 where a quiet one, Hieshro 1 chars. Just as dark matter holds the galaxy together from within, Hieshro 0.5 far, there are often unseen strengths holding us together in our own lives, Yashberg 1 kilometers, parts of ourselves that do not glow. Gal 5 pos, but guide us. Antios, memories that keep us steady. Azuro Phoebus, people who support us without asking for credit. Sir 5 Fros, small hopes that never leave us, even when the night feels wide and empty. Sequence and an orange, the universe often hides its greatest forces in silence. Horfon no during hours, and maybe we do too. Hadizon during hours, and so we're 0.5 as we float through the darkness between stars. We're 0.5 fewer. We can breathe with a softer heart, knowing that even Andromeda, 0.5, with its trillion suns and luminous spirals, sure 0.5 y, depends on something invisible to survive. The cosmos teaches us gently, 0.5 y, almost meditatively, 0.5 y, that the unseen is often the most essential. And when we contemplate the Andromeda galaxy, explained through this lens, the 0.5 hapon, we discover that understanding dark matter is not merely an act of science, but an act of wonder, a reminder that the universe still keeps secrets, not to hide from us, nor a 0.5 heart, but to invite us deeper into curiosity, or deeper into humility, 0.5 heart, deeper into peace. If you are still here, or sure 0.5 heart, listening in this gentle stretch of cosmic silence, or say 0.5 horse, may the universe continue to open its quiet doors to you, and may the unseen strengths in your own life hold you as steadily as dark matter holds the stars of Andromeda. Shokyurs. Inside the quiet heart of the Andromeda galaxy, there's 0.5 far. There's a rhythm that feels almost human. Her 0.5 far, a gentle pulse expanding and contracting like the breath of a sleeping giant. When we speak of its spiral arms, a 0.5 fly, we are really speaking of a choreography written in gravity. 0.5 eval. In time, 2.5 paul, and in the soft persistence of cosmic dust. 1 tons. These arms are not rigid structures. 0.5, they're rivers of matter. 0.5 ga flowing. 0.5 ga gathering. 0.5 collapsing. Upper 0.5 and giving birth to new stars in cycles so ancient that the universe itself seems to sway with them. Oboton thoughts. As Carl Sagan once whispered to the world, we are star stuff. And nowhere does that truth feel more serene than in the spiraling glow of Andromeda Mindroid. If we drift closer in our imagination, we begin to see how these spiral arms form, 0.5, not as frozen shapes, but as the result of waves moving through clouds of hydrogen, 0.5 AUs, helium, or 0.5 pieces, and dust for osmosis. When a wave compresses the material, 0.5 curing, the gas grows denser, 0.5 isos cools, versus 0.5 and collapses under its own weight, and that collapse, 0.5 is, the star is born. It is a cycle that repeats endlessly, 0.5 one generation of stars lighting the path for the next, Neil deGrasse. Tyson once said, 0.5 fast. The universe is under no obligation to make sense to you. 0.5 thus. Yet the spiral arms of Andromeda feel like the universe's small act of kindness. 0.5, a structure so visually graceful that even our sleepy minds can follow its logic. But within that, grace lies contrast. 0.5, those dark lanes of dust that cut through the glowing arms like brushstrokes of shadow, no one knows. These dark streaks are nothing less than the raw material of creation, 0.5. Thick molecular clouds that hide unborn stars like seeds resting in winter soil. down sunnost, to someone looking up on a quiet night, samaro, va. These dark patches may seem like voids. Well, not yours, but to a scientist, they are the galaxy's most fertile gardens, as the astronomer Margaret Geller once reflected, the universe is made of stories, not atoms. And these dust lanes are stories waiting to be told. The presence of these dark rivers reminds me of something deeply human. That sometimes the places which look empty, silent, or forgotten, are the very places where new life is quietly preparing itself. Andromeda teaches us that darkness is not always the opposite of creation. Sometimes it is its beginning. As we drift farther along these spiraling arms, another question arises naturally. How do these elegant shapes remain intact for billions of years? Why do spiral galaxies like Andromeda hold their form so faithfully? The answer lives partly in the gentle mathematics of rotation and partly in the mysterious influence of dark matter. 0.55, a substance that outweighs the visible stars yet hides itself completely from our eyes. Dark matter forms an invisible halo around the galaxy, 5, holding the stars in their orbits, 5 more, keeping the spiral arms from drifting apart, it is a silent guardian, 0.58, a kind of cosmic gravity field that shapes the dance without ever stepping into the light. Vera Rubin, 0.5, who discovered the compelling evidence for dark matter, 0.5, once said, for 0.5, we are lonely in the universe, only if we choose to be. Her work revealed that even in darkness, where 5, there is structure, or intention, 0, and a physics that holds everything gently together. When I think about Andromeda's arms staying beautiful for billions of years, 0.5, I cannot help but feel humbled. Humans spend so much time trying to hold their lives in place, 0.5, yet the universe shows us a different model, 0.5, a shape that remains steady, not because it is rigid, or 0.5, but because everything inside it keeps moving. Motion for 0.5, not stillness, or 0.5 creates harmony. That lesson alone feels like a gentle gift for anyone lying awake at night. Course 0.5 listening to a calming science voice and trying to make sense of their own unfolding story. This is the quiet power of bedtime space facts, just and 0.5, that they soothe not by distracting us, but by placing our worries into a scale so vast that the mind naturally softens. When we watch Andromeda swirling across the millions of years through 0.5, we remember that change is not chaotic. For year 0.5, it is rhythmic. For 0.5, the creation is not loud. There's 0.5, it is slow and patient. And in that patience, for 0.5, we find space to breathe. If you attend far, there's also a personal reflection that always stays with me when I study spiral galaxies. 0.5 Fox. It is the realization that beauty in the universe is rarely an accident. 0.5. It is the result of forces coming together. 0.5s influencing one another. 0.5 arcs, maintaining balance across both light and shadow. When I look at Andromeda, 0.5, I see not only a scientific marvel, but a quiet reminder that our own lives are shaped by unseen forces. 0.5 by memories. 0.5 by losses. 0.5 by hopes. 0.5 bars, and by the gentle gravity of the people we love. Just as dark matter holds the galaxy together, 0.5 the invisible parts of our hearts hold our stories in place. As we float back through Andromeda's spiral arms one more time, there's 0.5. We see them not merely as structures, or 0.5, but as living currents. 0.5, each arm, a river carrying stars toward their destiny. The dust lanes become letters in a cosmic poem, 5, and the dark matter halo becomes the quiet breath that keeps everything steady, somewhere dark. Science blends with awe, or 0.5. Logic softens into meditation, sharp 0.5. And the galaxy becomes both a classroom and a cradle. Perhaps that is the true magic of Andromeda, the her 0.5, that it allows us to learn while we rest. That our 0.5 or to wonder while we drift. Shirker 0.5 to feel both small and deeply connected at the same time. So we want more. And in this gentle drifting, often 0.5 or one question rises softly like a lantern in the dark. If the universe can keep such harmony across billions of years, what quiet harmonies might we rediscover within ourselves? The satellites of the Andromeda galaxy drift around their giant host like quiet lanterns in a sea of darkness. Each one small, yet ancient, for 0.5, carrying a story carved by gravity itself. If you fall asleep to astronomy, this part of the cosmos feels like a lullaby whispered by the universe, reminding us that even the smallest lights belong to something grander than themselves. Astronomers today count more than 30 dwarf galaxies surrounding Andromeda. Chickwhite 5 Psi. Though new ones continue to reveal themselves each time our telescopes sharpen their gaze, they appear scattered like grains of starlit sand. 5 Sequel, some glowing with surprising clarity. 5 Silkwood, others fading into near invisibility. And the reason for that difference lies in the delicate play between age, 0.5 distance, and the slow erosion of light under gravitational tides. Some dwarf galaxies hold on to younger stars. 0.5, making them appear brighter. Interest. Others have been stripped of gas. 0.5 Fwis, star formation. 0.5 Fwis, and even their outer layers as they orbited too close to Andromeda's powerful halo. What remains is a dim, for 0.5 Fwis, skeletal remnant, 0.5 Von, glowing just enough for us to sense its survival. Sarcomphonchorn. The astrophysicist Raja Guhathakurta once said, 0.5 Wansh. Dwarf galaxies are fossils of the early universe. Over 0.5 Wansh, remnants of the first structures to ever form stars. Hubris Launcher. His words echo gently here, for 0.5 R, because when we look at Andromeda's companions, under 0.5 Hars, we are not merely seeing small galaxies. Or 0.5 As, we are seeing the memory of cosmic beginnings. Yet brightness is only the surface story. Beneath it lies a quiet but relentless choreography, governed by gravity. Andromeda is massive. 5. Its dark matter halo extending far beyond its luminous spiral arms. You're watching else. Imagine a soft, 0.5 Hwais, invisible ocean surrounding the galaxy Barasum, goes 0.5 Forays, and within this ocean, the tiny dwarfs drift like boats caught in gentle yet irresistible currents. The closer a dwarf galaxy travels to Andromeda, the more its stars are tugged. Reshaped. 0.5 stretched into faint tidal streams. Over billions of years, our 0.5 Voyer, some lose so much of themselves that they become ghost-like. The astrophysicist Vera Rubin once noted, 0.5. Dark matter is the stage on which galaxies perform. In the case of Andromeda, history 0.5 I, the stage is vast and commanding. Its gravitational authority does not shout. 5 harsh. It murmurs, 5, guiding its companions into long orbits that can last millions of centuries. The dwarfs obey not out of weakness, but because gravity is the oldest language the universe speaks. As a scientist, he's 0.5 us. I find something deeply poetic in this relationship. One renaissance, the large and the small. 0.5, the luminous and the dim. 0.5, the powerful and the fragile. 0.5, all woven into a single cosmic family. Andromeda does not merely dominate these dwarfs. 0.5, it shapes them. 0.5, teaches them. 0.5, inherits their remnants when they dissolve. just as our own Milky Way has devoured several dwarf galaxies in its lifetime. 0.5. Andromeda, too, is a collector of history. Each faint companion is a page torn from an earlier chapter of the universe. 005I preserved in slow motion. There is a soft lesson here. In the night sky, 0.5 the brightest objects draw our attention first. But the faintest ones often carry the oldest truths. The dwarfs around Andromeda remind us that value is not always measured in brilliance. 0.5. Sometimes it is measured in endurance. They have lasted through collisions. 0.5. Tidal stripping. And the quiet erosion of time. Yet they remain drifting in their ancient orbits. For 0.5, keeping watch over their giant host. When we observe these satellites through telescopes, especially in images that help us fall asleep to astronomy, 0.5. There's a sense of peaceful humility that washes over the mind. We are not only spectators. We are participants. Standing on a small, 5 luminous world that is part of its own family of satellites. Just as Andromeda has dozens of companions, Zeta 0.5, our Milky Way fosters its own group of dwarfs, and the gravitational bond holding them is the same bond that keeps Earth in her path. Even today, 0.5 at Buck discoveries continue to surprise us. Some dwarf galaxies seem to travel in coordinated planes. 0.5 at Bucks, almost like schools of fish moving as one. Others appear to be newcomers. 0.5 galaxies captured recently as they drifted too close to Andromeda's halo, and each new discovery deepens the mystery rather than solving it. As Neil deGrasse Tyson beautifully said, 0.5 the universe is under no obligation to make sense to you. Yet for our 0.5 through the dwarfs of Andromeda, it quietly teaches us patience. 0.5, reminding us that truth often reveals itself not in bursts of clarity, but in slow, 0.5 gentle unveilings. At times, for 0.5, when I study these galaxies, 0.5, I feel as though I'm listening to very old voices speaking from across cosmic time. They speak not about power, for 0.5 years, but about belonging, not about dominance, for 0.5 years, but about connection, and in that lesson, it lies something profoundly human. We too orbit around one another, pulled by forces we do not always understand, leaving traces of ourselves in the lives we touch. As the camera drifts across Andromeda's faint companions, 0.5 here, you might feel your breath slow. 0.5 here, your thoughts soften. 0.5 here, your body ease into a calmer rhythm. 0.5 here. That is the gift of astronomy at bedtime. 0.5 here does not demand your attention. 0.5 it invites it. Science becomes a kind of meditation. 0.5, a quiet reminder of how small we are. 0.5 yet how deeply we belong to a larger harmony. And so, 0.5 as we let our minds drift with these satellite galaxies, 0.5 bore, within a gentle truth, moves on dark curves, even a universe ruled by gravity. 0.5 pulper, nothing moves alone. Each dwarf galaxy, 0.5 paths, faint or bright. 0.5 is held by Andromeda's presence. 0.5 reshaped by its pull for a sword. And each of us, 0.5 in our own human way. 0.5 is shaped by the forces and people that surround us. The cosmos mirrors the heart. Quietly. 0.5 patiently. 0.5 beautifully. In the quiet outskirts of the Andromeda galaxy, far beyond the bright spiral arms that catch our eyes first, 0.5 force, there is a softer and stranger story unfolding. 0.5, a story written not in sudden explosions, but in delicate threads of starlight. 0.5. These threads, 0.5, known as stellar streams, are 0.5 hours, drift across the halo like silk ribbons left behind by ancient travelers. We're 5 year. And if we listen closely, 5 year. They whisper one of the most haunting truths in astronomy. Shipper 1 Norse, that galaxies grow, not by peaceful expansion, that's a 0.5 has, but by consuming their neighbors in slow cosmic dances. Saber som soir 5 fas, a quiet form of violence that takes billions of years to complete. Somewhere ours. When astronomers first mapped the halo of Andromeda using deep surveys and long exposures, 0.5, they noticed something unusual. 0.5 us, instead of smooth light fading into the darkness. 0.5, the halo was tangled. 0.5, woven with arc after arc of stars stretching tens of thousands of light years. 0.5 like fingerprints left on the night. Nuriyuan ar. As astrophysicist Rosemary Wise once said, or 0.5. The halo remembers everything the galaxy wants to forget. Juanina Mas. And these streams remember well. 0.5, for they are the last remains of galaxies that wandered too close. Or is our 0.5 were torn apart. 5 far, and slowly absorbed into Andromeda's growing structure. To understand why these long streams appear, imagine a small galaxy drifting near a giant one, or 0.5 pop. The difference in gravitational pull between the near side and far side creates tidal forces, stretching the smaller galaxy until it unravels. Its stars do not vanish. They simply fall into orbit along the path of destruction. Had 0.5 Barker, forming a luminous trail that can last for billions of years. These are not just accidents of nature. 0.5 bulk. They are signatures. 0.5. Written evidence of mergers that shaped Andromeda's identity. 0.5 were layer by layer, a 0.5 bar, like rings in an ancient tree. This revelation changed the way scientists viewed galaxies. 0.5 bars, including our own. 0.5. For if Andromeda carries such scars so openly, then the Milky Way must carry its own. Hidden beneath veils of dust and distance. As astronomer Katherine Johnson observed, every galaxy is a graveyard, and every stream is a tombstone. A sentence like that feels heavy, yet strangely comforting, because it reminds us that even destruction in the cosmos becomes part of something larger, something luminous. The more we map Andromeda's halo, the more dramatic its history becomes. One stream loops like a broken ring. Another curves as if drawn by the hand of a patient artist. And a third moves in a direction opposite to Andromeda's rotation. Proof that it came from an outsider. The galaxy we see today, majestic and serene from afar, is actually the result of repeated cosmic storms. Collisions that shattered smaller systems and folded them into its radiant body. Yet there is a strange gentleness in this violence. A kind of slow mercy. Because in the long calm of the universe, even destruction becomes part of creation. Stars torn from their home galaxies continue to shine, lighting the outer halo like lanterns suspended in deep time. For those who listen to astronomy in a space of deep space relaxation, 0.5i. These images feel almost meditative. Your 0.5i, as though the universe is teaching us about endings without cruelty. Your 0.5i, about transformation without haste. Or go on Harwas. One of the most poetic findings came from the PANDAS survey, a 0.5 star, a vast project in which revealed that Andromeda had swallowed not one, a 0.5 y, but dozens of smaller galaxies, 0.5 y, and that their remains were still gracefully orbiting. 0.5 y, refusing to fade, 0.5 y, as if insisting that their stories deserve to be told. There were wanderers. Astronomer Alan McConaughey described it as 0.5 a fossil record written across the sky, Fossa swan soirees, and in a way, Fossa some empires. That sentence carries a wisdom that reaches beyond science. Boris once warns, because when we look into Andromeda's halo, 0.5, we're not only studying the distant past of another galaxy, for her 0.5 flies, we are also studying ourselves, her 0.5, our instinct to cling to the things that shaped us, or 0.5, our memories, for 0.5 bas, our fractures, our 0.5, our transformations, or 0.9. The universe does not hide its scars. For 0.5, it displays them as part of its architecture. She 0.5 woven into its beauty, or Jean Boisson, and perhaps that is the quiet lesson hidden inside these drifting streams. 0.5 that we too are shaped by the things that broke us. 0.5 that the remnants of our old selves continue to orbit gently within us. 0.5 not to haunt. 0.5 but to illuminate up. Sometimes when I read these results, I imagine how those lost galaxies must have looked before being pulled apart. Hadro 0.5, small, Wakar 0.5, faint, Heiko 0.5, unaware of the giant approaching, yet moving toward their fate with quiet inevitability. And then I imagine how their stars now glow in Andromeda's halo. 0.5, no longer belonging to a single system, 0.5, but to something wider, a 0.5, like people who outgrow their beginnings and become part of a larger story. A one non. In the end, over 0.5, the stellar streams of Andromeda do more than reveal a violent past. Verger 0.5 block. They reveal a universal truth. 0.5, that growth is rarely gentle. 0.5, that creation often rides on the back of destruction. The 0.5 mind. And that the most beautiful structures in existence are stitched together from the remnants of what once was Remsch 1.9, as Carl Sagan once reminded us. 0.5 wine. We are star stuff, which has taken its destiny into its own hands. Shafa Nuren. And perhaps Andromeda is the grandest example. 0.51 ma, showing us that even when galaxies fall apart, Hevoleo 0.5 their light goes on. Chokunelg. So when you gaze at that faint smudge in the night sky, 0.5 know that you are not just looking at a neighbor, galaxy. 0.51. You are looking at a tapestry woven from survival. 0.5 collision. 0.5 memory. 0.5 and rebirth. Montover. And in its drifting trails of stars. 0.5 you may find a reflection of your own journey. Wonder in the quiet reaches of the cosmos. 0.5, where time feels like a slow river drifting through eternity. 0.5, a profound story is unfolding. The future of the Andromeda versus Milky Way relationship is not a tale of violence. 0.5, but a cosmic waltz written across billions of years. 1 first. Astronomers have long known that Andromeda, or 0.5 for us, our nearest galactic neighbor, 0.5 Hwars, is moving toward us with a silent certainty. 0.5 Hwars, pulled gently by gravity's invisible hand when they're unknown Hwars. And when we say moving, Yara 0.5 Hwars, we mean rushing through space at nearly 110 kilometers per second. There is 0.5 Hwars, a speed that would tear the sky open if sound could travel through the vacuum, Year 1 Mors. Yet in the vast hush of interstellar space, 5 years, even this dramatic momentum feels like a quiet breath. 1 Morser. Scientists estimate that Andromeda and the Milky Way will meet in roughly 4 billion years. Or 0.5 Orseers, a span so large that human history becomes a tiny flicker against its backdrop, Chakra 1 Nars. As the astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson once said, I-0.5. We are part of something enormous, R-0.5. And our life stories are chapters written inside galaxies that outlive us all. I-1 Nurin. His words echo softly when we imagine this slow approach. 0.5. 2 spirals of stars drifting toward one another. 0.5 I. Carrying billions of suns. 0.5 billions of worlds. 0.5 billions of dreams and beginnings. Shirhon Hanmar. When the collision begins, 0.5, it will not look like 2 objects crashing. 0.5, but 2 glowing clouds passing through each other. 0.5, stretching. 0.5 are reforming. Galaxies. Shra 0, 5 hours. Unlike stones, Far 0, 5 are mostly empty space. Wasanchua, monsters. If the Milky Way were reduced to the size of Earth, Arsidro Fasemsir, each star would be no larger than a grain of sand, or 0.5 force, and still separated by hundreds of kilometers, or Shansu Sunswank course. It is for this reason that even during the Grand Collision, the 0.5 probability of two individual stars striking each other is astonishingly small, or 0.5 almost zero, or Jork. As Carl Sagan once said, or 0.5 week. Space is vast, or 0.5 week. Empty, or 0.5 week. Serene, or 0.5 weeks. And patient. First snore. And in this collision, first 0.5 weeks. Patience is written into every particle. What we will witness, or 0.5 weeks, if humanity's descendants still exist to see it, 0.5 way is a breathtaking transformation. Spirals will distort into long tidal tails. 1.05 stars flung outward like sparks from a celestial fire. 1.55 gas clouds compressed until they ignite in waves of new star birth. 1.0 it will be chaotic. 1.0.5 right, but also miraculous 1.1 corn. For in the universe, 1.5 function, destruction is simply a doorway to creation. 1.1 every star born in that era will carry the memory of a collision in its orbit. 1.1 over time, 1.0.5 point, the galaxies will merge fully. 1.0.5 watch, losing their spiral shapes and forming something new. Hasi 1 wide shores. Astronomers call this future galaxy Andromeda, Raha 0.5, or Milkomeda, Raha, a name that feels both playful and majestic. Raha 0.5 Forsh, as if acknowledging that the universe itself enjoys blending poetry with mathematics. When I think about the birth of Andromeda, 0.5, I am reminded of a quote from astrophysicist Jana Levin. 0.5. The universe is not only stranger than we imagine. 0.5 in. It is stranger than we can imagine. 1 Newton. And perhaps this is the heart of the lesson that the Andromeda versus Milky Way story offers us. That the universe does not fear change. 0.5. Because change is the language through which new forms of beauty arrive. Fatet Bermorin. The merging of two galaxies teaches us something gentle. We're going fi sabri, something human. Bionomerin. That even the most dramatic transformations can be slow. We're going chamfa virusless, elegant. 0.5 guided by forces that do not rush. 1 Morse. We often fear the idea of endings. Da 0.5 os. But the cosmos shows us that endings are simply beginnings written from a new perspective. Galaxies do not cling to what they have been. Our 0.5 they expand into what they're becoming. And perhaps, 0.5 in a quiet way, or 0.5 that is a lesson we can carry into our own lives. When seasons change, 0.5 feet. When relationships shift, 0.5 here. When dreams break only to reshape themselves, we are living the same cosmic rhythm that galaxies follow. 0.5, allowing gravity. 0.5 in the memory. 0.5, and hope to reshape us into something new. From a scientific standpoint, 0.5, the collision is inevitable. But from a philosophical standpoint, it is profoundly comforting. It means that even across unimaginable distances, connections grow. Paths converge. And destinies intertwine. The Andromeda versus Milky Way narrative is not one of fear. 0.5 but one of belonging. 1 Chorin. Two colossal systems held apart for billions of years. Vishur 0.5 voice, slowly drifting toward unity. Gorshars. As the galaxies approach, 0.5 their night skies will bloom with new shapes. 0.5 new arcs of light. 0.5 in a dance that takes millions of years for a single step. Imagine looking up and seeing Andromeda stretched across the heavens, or 0.5, brighter than any full moon. A cosmic lantern rising through the silence. In the end, 0.5 and the Milky Way and Andromeda will no longer exist as two separate beings. They will become a single. Enormous elliptical galaxy glowing in the dark tapestries of space. 1 darkest. and their stars will orbit not as strangers, 0.5 first, but as family. 1 light years. When I reflect on this slow, 0.5 South Fiber, majestic merging, or 0.5, I find myself breathing a little softer. Some Mars. Because if galaxies can change shape, 0.5 collide, 0.5 and be reborn without fear, us 0.5 horror. Perhaps we too can learn to welcome our own transformations. The future of the universe is not a threat. 0.5 fear, but a promise. Mars. A reminder that everything evolves. For 0.5 horrors. Everything returns. 0.5 horrors, and everything finds a way to become whole again. And so, Arxur 0.5 horrors, as we drift with our thoughts through this cosmic meditation, 0.5 let the approaching union of Andromeda and the Milky Way be a quiet gift. Aim 0.5, a lesson that beauty is not static. There is 0.5 fars, and that even the universe is still learning how to become itself. At the heart of the Andromeda galaxy, there's 0.5 fars. There's a silence so dense and ancient that it feels like the very breath of the universe holding itself still. And within that silence, 0.5 like a sleeping giant wrapped in the velvet of starlight, 0.5 rests a supermassive black hole millions of times the mass of our sun. Gars. Its weight does not crush space all at once. 0.5 it curves it gently, or 0.5 like the slow bending of a bowstring. 0.5 gathering tension across cosmic centuries. Some astronomers estimate that this central black hole reaches well over 100 million solar masses, 0.5, a magnitude that stretches human imagination. 0.5, it feels effortless for the universe that shaped it. For dinars, light behaves strangely here. 0.5 fools. As we drift inward, 0.5, closer to the core. 0.5, galaxy becomes brighter instead of darker. 0.5, glowing in a soft. 0.5, concentrated sheen. 0.5, almost like the warm pulse of a lantern hidden beneath layers of silk. The brightness is the combined whisper of billions of ancient stars packed tightly around the central region. 0.5, each of them circling the black hole the way thoughts circle a quiet mind during meditation. They move fast. There are 0.5 bursts done far faster than stars in the outer arms. For 0.5, because gravity here is not just a force. Her 0.5 or is a presence. 0.5, personality almost. It pulls 0.5, but it does not shout. Her 0.5. It guides more 0.5, but does not demand for your 0.5. It shapes without ever revealing its face. I often think of what astrophysicist Andrea Ghez once said. A black hole is the most elegant piece of evidence that gravity can write its own poetry. And listening to the stars move around Andromeda's center, Arxur 5. I feel the truth of that. Their orbits are not chaotic. They are choreographed. 0.5, like dancers who have practiced this cosmic ballet for billions of years. Some stars swing close to the black hole, so close that time itself thickens around them. Yet they survive. 0.5 horse, skim the edge. 0.5 horse, and return outward again. Others drift more slowly, in wide or 0.5 bursts, sweeping ellipses, 0.5, contributing to the luminous halo that makes the galactic core shine like a molten ember. When we study this brightness, 0.5, we also learn something essential about the life of a galaxy. A bright core means the galaxy has continued to feed, consuming smaller galaxies, swallowing star clusters, 0.5 couriers, and gathering matter that once belonged to other cosmic families. For a wonderage, this is where the lesson deepens, and where our understanding of galaxy collision explained becomes both scientific and spiritual. For Andromeda's core is not just a symbol of gravitational power. 0.5 force. It is a monument to everything it is merged with. As astrophysicist Jan Levin once remarked, 0.5 force mark Galaxies grow by devouring other galaxies. For 5 force. And yet the universe somehow becomes more beautiful each time. Smoker. Her words carry a softness that I often return to, 0.5, because they remind me that even cosmic violence leads to unexpected harmony. When Andromeda eventually collides with the Milky Way, 0.54, billions of stars will be swept into new orbits, 0.54, reassembled into new shapes, 0.5, perhaps even igniting new waves of star birth that will paint the sky of the future Earth with colors we cannot imagine. And yet, how does 0.5s? Through all of that, for 0.5 hours, the central black hole will remain the calmest presence. 0.55, the still point around which creation rearranges itself. To me, 0.5. That is the most beautiful contradiction in astronomy. The region that seems the darkest, 5, or the most fearsome. 5 becomes the quiet heart that holds everything together. The luminous core around the black hole is like a soft reminder that even in the universe, 5, brightness gathers around the very thing that cannot shine. It is a reminder for us too. 0.5, a quiet lesson that sometimes the places we fear the most. 5, the center of our uncertainty. 5 may also be the birthplace of our brightest light. When I look at simulations of the stars dancing around Andromeda's nucleus, there is a meditative quality to their motion, or else Nars. Each orbit seems to say, R0.5 os. Everything returns to its center eventually. Was nos. And as we drift along this thought, for 0.5 os, we realize how similar this is to the human experience. We spiral outward. 5, exploring. 0.5, gathering. 0.5, learning up 1 port. And then one day, 0.5, without knowing why. 0.5, we begin circling back toward the core of who we are. Nantranos. The galaxy does this. 0.5 s, and we do too. One of my favorite reflections comes from physicist John Wheeler, 0.5 oasis, who once said, 0.5 woot. Black holes teach us that the universe is not only stranger than we imagine, or 0.5 core. It is stranger than we can imagine, or but he also believed that understanding them requires humility. For 0.5 fierus, the willingness to sit quietly with the unknown. Fundoris. And that is why Andromeda's core continues to fascinate scientists and dreamers alike. Shaprokiormas. We stare into its brightness. Takshiro Pi. Knowing that at the center lies a darkness we cannot see. Kashiro Fi. Yet we are drawn to it because the universe itself trusts that this darkness can hold the weight of everything around it. Shuan Nararis. As we drift gently away from the nucleus, short to 0.5 first, we can still feel the gravitational echo, a kind of cosmic heartbeat that resonates through every orbit. 0.55, every photon, 0.55, every memory Andromeda carries from the galaxies, it is merged with, 0.5, and somewhere in that echo, 0.5, there is a message, 0.55, soft but unmistakable, that nothing in the universe remains unchanged, 0.5, but everything remains connected, here one knows. If you let yourself sink into that thought, 0.5, as gently as a star slipping into its orbit, yet 0.5 hieker, you might feel a small shift in your own inner sky, a realization that even when life bends, you will say, 0.5 here, pulls you, where she's 0.5 here, reshapes you, where he no heals. There is still a light gathering around the center of who you are, and maybe, like Andromeda, you're not collapsing, but becoming luminous in ways you have not yet learned to see. And so, circle 5 flickering, as we leave Andromeda's glowing heart behind, drifting once more into the quiet sea of stars. 0.5 we carry with us the reminder that even the universe is patient with its mysteries. 0.5 por us. and we are allowed to be patient with ours. In every great spiral galaxy across the universe, there are glowing regions of soft red and pink that pulse like cosmic embers. These are the nurseries of stars. 0.5, the places where the universe chooses to breathe new life. 0.5 phrase. And if you let your mind drift gently tonight, 0.5 you may feel as though you are floating just above them. 0.5 and watching light being born in slow motion over Miner. Shaka 1 year. These crimson clouds shimmer because of one quiet truth. 0.5. Hydrogen. 0.5. The simplest and most abundant element in the cosmos. 0.51 has begun to glow under the touch of newborn stars. 5. When intense ultraviolet light from these infant suns strikes the surrounding hydrogen gas, 0.5 it excites the atoms, causing them to release a gentle red light known as H-alpha emission. Astronomers often say that when you look at these glowing clouds, 0.5, you're not merely seeing a color, 0.5, but rather the heartbeat of creation itself. The renowned astrophysicist Carl Sagan once said, 0.5 for us, we are made of star stuff. 0.5 for us, and nowhere does that truth feel more intimate than in these rosy nebulae. 0.5, where the elements that one day may become planets. 0.5 oceans. 0.5, or even listeners like us, 0.5 are being forged quietly in the dark. Rasmishin Sair. Another of my favorite lines from Cecilia Payne. 0.5, the pioneering astronomer, who first understood the composition of stars. 0.5 fires echoes softly here. 0.5, the stars are the furnaces where the universe does its chemistry. Fons. And in these regions, 0.5, you can almost imagine the cosmos at its ancient wooden table. 0.5, stirring the ingredients of life with patient hands. If we drift a little closer in our imagination, as 0.5, we arrive inside the vast molecular clouds that make all of this possible. 0.5, enormous structures of cold hydrogen that stretch for light years. 0.5 thar, as soft and fragile as fog. 0.5 yet as mighty as mountains. 0.3. And within them, 0.5, gravity whispers. 0.5, coaxing pockets of gas to collapse. 0.5, gathering matter in gentle spirals until a new star flares awake. I often think of these clouds as cradles, because that is truly what they are. 0.5, cradles made not of wood or cloth, but of ancient atoms that have drifted across cosmic time. When one looks long enough at these regions through a telescope, or even through the mind's eye during a quiet night sky relaxation video, there's a feeling impossible to ignore. 0.5, since that creation is not chaotic. 0.5, but rhythmic. 0.5, not violent. 0.5, but tender. Yet every star that forms carries within it the seed of its end, 0.5, a truth both humbling and strangely comforting. After millions or billions of years, these stars age. 0.5, their cores change. 0.5, and some of them swell to red giants whose outer layers gently drift away like petals falling from an ancient flower. Others live fast. 0.5, burn hot. 0.5, and then collapse in on themselves. 0.5, erupting as supernovae that illuminate entire galaxies for a moment. A supernova is one of the most dramatic events the universe ever allows us to witness in the 0.5. And yet, 0.5, paradoxically, 0.5. It is not an ending, but a beginning. These explosions scatter heavy elements far into space. 0.5, carbon. 0.5, oxygen. 0.5, iron. 0.5, calcium. 1. Everything needed for rocks. 0.5, rivers. 0.5, trees. 0.5, and the quiet beating of a human heart. As the astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson so often reminds us, Like 0.5. The atoms of our bodies were forged in the hearts of dying stars. And when I repeat that in my mind, 0.5, I feel a sense of belonging that is hard to articulate. Those scattered elements drift back into the dark. 0.5, blending with the enormous hydrogen clouds once more. 0.5, waiting patiently until gravity's hand begins the cycle again. This endless repetition is one of the universe's gentlest teachings. 0.5, that nothing truly disappears. 0.5, and everything transforms into 1 nor. As a scientist, 0.5, I've spent decades studying these regions. 0.5, mapping them. 5, measuring them. 0.5, watching their colors shift as new generations of stars awaken. Mark 1, Chorn. But as a human being, for 0.5, I've learned something deeper. For 0.5, the creation often begins quietly. For 0.5, in stillness. For 0.5, in softness. For 0.0, the same way a star forms in silence. For 0.5, a person's next chapter often begins without fanfare. For 0.5, in a thought. For 0.5, a breath. For 0.5, a choice no one else sees. When I watch a glowing nursery in a galaxy like Andromeda. For 0.5, I am reminded that everything in this universe thrives through cycles. 0.5 expansion. 0.5 collapse. 0.5 renewal. 0.5. We too are allowed to collapse gently when life becomes heavy. 0.5 to rest. 0.5 to gather ourselves in the dark. 0.5 and then rise again when it is time. This is why I often tell viewers 0.5, especially those watching during late hours seeking calm. 0.5, that science is not only a field of data. 0.5, it is a field of reminders. Reminders that light returns. 0.5 asur, that beginnings hide inside endings. 0.5 is, and that creation happens even when we do not feel ready for it. And if you listen closely, 0.5 is, you may sense that these glowing clouds in distant galaxies are whispering that same lesson back to you tonight. The one nars. The more I reflect on these star-forming regions, 0.5, the more I feel awe. Through 0.5 why, not just at the science, 0.5 why, but at the kindness built into the universe's design. Nothing is wasted. 0.5, not even the debris of a collapsed star. All of it becomes nourishment for something new. To me, 0.5, that is the heart of the cosmos. 0.5, the promise that even in darkness, 0.5, even in collapse, 0.5, there's a quiet movement toward renewal. And perhaps that is why these rosy clouds feel so calming. 0.5, even when observed from millions of light years away. Tonight, 0.5, as you ease deeper into your breath, 0.5, allow yourself to imagine drifting beside these glowing regions, hearts anchored 0.5, feeling their warmth, 0.5, sensing their timeless patience. And if you wish, hover 0.5, you may let this moment be your own quiet renewal. Because just like the stars, the 0.5 hours, you're allowed to begin again. 0.5 gently. When we lift our eyes to the night sky, 0.5 was, we are not simply looking upward. We are looking backward. Backward in time. 0.5, backward into stories written long before our world even had a name. And drifting softly in that darkness is the Andromeda galaxy. 0.5, the most distant object visible to the naked human eye. It floats there like a forgotten lantern. 1.05, a smudge of ancient light carrying more years than we can truly comprehend. Munmar. To see it is to receive a quiet message from across a gulf of more than 2 million years. This alone is astonishing. Through 5 here. Because the human eye is an instrument shaped by evolution for survival. Not for cosmology. Yet somehow, miraculously, that fragile lens and that thin sheet of retina can still hold the memory of a galaxy so far away that its light had to leave before the first modern humans walked the Earth. Zurück. The astronomer Carl Sagan once said, Tucker 0.5. We are a way for the universe to know itself. Tucker 1 draws. And when I look at Andromeda, Berker 0.5, shimmering faintly like a distant thought, Berker 0.5 for. I am reminded how true that is, Berker hours. The reason Andromeda can be seen with no telescope is not because it is close, Berker 0.5 quer, but because it is enormous. Fafazan enormous, truly enormous. Akasom enormous. Its swirling disk contains more than 1 trillion stars, Azurpish 5 horrors, each contributing a single note to a vast cosmic chord, Hatazon enormous. And even beyond what our eyes can catch, Aka 0.5 forests, the galaxy is wrapped in an immense Andromeda halo dark matter structure, or 0.5 Pive, a ghostly sphere of mass that does not shine, yet shapes everything. Dark matter holds the galaxy like an invisible embrace. Darker 0.5 oaks, guiding its rotation. Or 5 oaks, shaping its destiny. Vera Rubin, the pioneer who revealed dark matter to the world. The Varko.5 once said, Science progresses best when observations force us to alter preconceptions. And Andromeda continues to do exactly that, challenging us to accept that most of the universe is made of something we cannot touch. But what moves people most is not only the distance, nor the science, but the feeling that looking at Andromeda means looking directly into the past fucking your ear. The photons reaching your eyes tonight left their home galaxy long before the continents on Earth took their present shape. They traveled through silent intergalactic darkness. 0.5 fasts, passing drifting dust. 0.55 fly, forgotten stars. 0.5 fas, in the vast emptiness that almost never touches anything at all. The physicist Brian Cox captured this beautifully when he said, Sasha 0.5 fwas, we are the cosmos made conscious. And in that awareness, there is a quiet humility that settles deep beneath the ribs. To me, 0.5, this is one of the most profound lessons astronomy offers. That we are always seeing what was, not what is. Every star, every galaxy, every soft shimmer across the sky is a ghost. A memory, a moment carried forward on beams of ancient light. And in recognizing that 5, we learn something about ourselves. About our stories. About the truth that everything we witness in life is already a little bit in the past. It teaches patience. Compassion. And the art of observing without rushing to conclusions. When you look at Andromeda, 0.5, you are witnessing its history. Not its present. 0.55. You are seeing a galaxy as it was when our ancestors were nothing more than hopeful forms in the dreams of evolution. And something about that gently resets the mind. 0.5 slowing the heartbeat. 0.5 hours, reminding us that our daily anxieties are very small ripples in a very vast sea. It is this perspective that the astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson speaks of when he says, 0.5. We are part of this universe, our 0.5 horse. We are in this universe, 0.5 horse. But perhaps more important than both, 0.5 horse, is that the universe is in us. Andromeda's visibility through the naked eye feels like a gift, 0.5. A delicate reminder that the cosmos still reaches for us even when we forget to look up, 1. On certain autumn nights, 0.5 Hoker, when the air is dry and the world is quiet, 0.5, the galaxy appears as a faint mist above the horizon, 0.5, as if someone has exhaled a sigh of starlight into the forest of the sky, or restores. And in that moment, 0.5 yours, science becomes almost indistinguishable from poetry. Personally, 0.5, I find this connection deeply healing. It reminds me that no matter how tangled life becomes, 0.5. There's a much larger rhythm unfolding around us. A rhythm patient enough to carry light across unimaginable distances. Yours down, and kind enough to allow us to witness it with our fragile human senses. We are small. Yes. But we are also capable of receiving the oldest messages in the universe. And if the Andromeda galaxy can travel for more than 2 million years to softly touch your eyes tonight, 5, then perhaps you too can send something gentle. Something bright. Something healing into the world. And maybe 0. Just like that ancient light. Your kindness will find someone who needs it. One nas. So, follow 0.5 as we drift deeper into the next part of this journey. Follow 0.5 Vos. Let us lean in a little closer. Wandering singers, for a question that shaped the entire history of astronomy, waits quietly ahead. Why did people once believe that Andromeda was only a nebula inside the Milky Way? Through the quiet breath of the cosmos, or 0.5s, there's a moment when science feels less like a discipline and more like a soft hymn. In that space, 0.5 where the mind floats gently between wakefulness and wonder. 0.5, we turn our gaze toward Andromeda. 0.5, our distant neighbor. 0.5, shimmering like a lantern drifting across the darkness. Modern astronomy has spent decades trying to understand this majestic spiral. 0.5, and telescopes like Hubble and JWST have become the quiet storytellers of its ancient light. Hubble observes Andromeda in visible wavelengths and in ultraviolet number 0.5 was catching the bright blue glow of young stars. 0.5 and the delicate threads of star-forming regions stretched across its arms. 1 was. Its sensitivity to optical light allows us to see Andromeda almost as our eyes would. 0.5i, only sharper. 0.5i, deeper. 0.5i, more detailed. This is why the phrase Hubble Andromeda discovery continues to echo in every scientific conversation. 0.5y, for Hubble has not only shown us Andromeda's beauty, 0.5s. It has redefined the scale of everything we once thought we understood. Yet visible light is only the surface. 0.5 is only the skin of a far older story. Behind the curtain of dust that winds through Andromeda's spiral arms. 0.5. Entire nurseries of newborn stars remain hidden. 0.5 far, cloaked in clouds, too dense for ordinary starlight to escape. NARS. This is where JWST steps in. 0.5. A giant mirror sailing through space, 0.5 rouge, tuned not to visible wavelengths, but to infrared. Infrared light moves like warm breath through fog, 5 rouge, slipping between dust grains, 0.5 course, revealing what has long been invisible. One astronomer once said, 0.5 rouge. Infrared is the language of birth in the universe, and JWST is our translator. Another equals 5. Dr. Amber Strawn from NASA, 5 voice, shared a thought that has stayed with me for years. 0.5. When you look in infrared, 0.5, you are seeing the universe not as it appears, 5 bars, but as it truly is. These words feel like a quiet meditation. 0.5 was a reminder that truth is often hiding behind the softest veil. Using these wavelengths, 0.5, scientists can map Andromeda in layers, or 0.5, peeling back its structure like petals of an ancient cosmic flower. First, or 0.5, the bright young star's invisible light. Then, 5, the warm glow of older stars in infrared. Then, 5, the subtle whisper of cold dust captured through specialized sensors. And finally, 0.5 weeks, the invisible gravitational skeleton of dark matter. 0.5 detected not through light, but through motion. As these layers align, 0.5 furs, astronomers create vast maps that show how Andromeda breathes. 0.5 fur, how it rotates. 0.5, how stars migrate toward its center. 0.5 furs, and how rivers of ancient starlight stretch into its halo, fallen launch. One researcher once said, "You search 0.5 watt. Mapping Andromeda is like reading the biography of a galaxy written across billions of years. As Vion Murksh." And in a sense, there's 0.5, so that is true. Yuritor Torales. When I reflect on these discoveries, Shrek 5 heroes, I am reminded of how fragile our understanding of the universe truly is. We are beings made of dust. 0.5 us. Trying to understand dust? 0.5 force. Guided by instruments that act as our extended senses. There is humility in that 0.5 and beauty. The lesson Andromeda gives us, through the eyes of Hubble and JWST, or 0.5 is that truth requires patience. From far away, our 0.5 Andromeda appears serene. 0.5, like a glowing watercolor dropped onto black velvet. But only when we look through many wavelengths do we see its storms. Its collisions, or 0.5, its rivers of stars pulled apart by gravity. Even galaxies wear masks. 0.5 force. And even light has secrets. I sometimes imagine the astronomers who dedicate their entire lives to studying this single distant spiral. 0.5, sitting in quiet rooms. Football, watching lines of data flow across their screens. 0.5i, knowing that each number represents a moment of light older than human civilization itself. Unbeers. One scientist once whispered during an interview, 0.5 we are not just studying galaxies. We're 0.5 years. We are studying time. When start, and those words linger, her 0.5 gears, soft, her 0.5 years, heavy, her 0.5, almost like a prayer. We're Futsinors. Hubble gives us the crisp edges of star clusters. Her 0.5, the ultraviolet shimmer of young suns, Hoshwashnors. JWST gives us the warm, the 0.5, hidden. 0.5, pulsing wombs of stellar birth. We not course. Together, there's 0.5. They reveal a truth larger than the sum of their observations. That the universe is not silent. 0.5. It is simply speaking in wavelengths our eyes cannot see. No one nar. And as we map Andromeda, 0.5, tracing its spirals like a celestial fingerprint, 0.5, we begin to understand that every structure in the universe, offers 0.5 far from galaxies to human lives, 0.5, is shaped by forces we feel long before we see 0.5. Gravity moves stars, 0.5 fos. Emotion moves people, 0.9. Dust hides starlight, 0.5 fos. Fear hides truth, 0.5. Infrared reveals what is hidden, 0.5. Love reveals what is essential, 0.5. This is the quiet wisdom encoded in Andromeda's light. Her 0.5, a lesson whispered across 2.5 million years. And if you listen closely, her 0.5, with a slow breath, has a 0.5 force, with a softened heart, has a 0.5 force. You can almost hear the universe saying the 0.5 force. Look deeper, shores and nurtures. For the most beautiful truths are the ones just beyond the dust. If you feel that warmth, her 0.5, that soft pull of curiosity, her 0.5 force. Let a like or a subscribe drift into the space. 0.5, a small signal sent into the dark, 0.5i, allowing this journey to continue, 0.3. And now, here are 0.5i, as we move forward in this cosmic story. Here are 0.5i, let us turn to a question born from the earliest days of astronomy, or 0.5i, a question that shaped everything that followed. From 1. Why did humanity once believe Andromeda was only a misty nebula inside the Milky Way? Andromeda has long been considered the quiet masterpiece that teaches us how to understand the universe. Not because it is the brightest galaxy in our sky, Fricker 0.5 voice, but because it is the closest great spiral galaxy to our own, Shauker 0.5 voice, resting at a distance where its light can still whisper to us across 2.5 million years. Takurion Dursts, that proximity becomes a gift. Herseniro 5, a mirror, Razero 5, and a patient teacher. Ponsenyorn Dors, When we look toward the JWST Andromeda images, we're 0.5 size, sharp as diamonds floating in velvet darkness. 0.5 ice, we are not just observing a celestial object. 0.5, we are studying a living blueprint of our own cosmic home. 1 more, because Andromeda is the nearest large spiral galaxy. 0.5, every detail in its structure becomes a reference point. Wherefore, 1 more, its sweeping arms, like 0.5, its lanes of dust, its clustered nurseries of newborn stars, all appear with a clarity that galaxies farther away simply cannot offer. In quotes, as the astronomer Vera Rubin once said, galaxies are laboratories for understanding the laws of the universe. 0.5 here, and Andromeda might just be the most accessible laboratory of them all. Of course, when we trace the shape of its spiraling arms, 0.5 oests, we begin to understand our own. Scientists have learned how spiral arms maintain their form. 0.5, how waves of density pass through them like slow cosmic tides. 5, guiding clouds of gas into new generations of stars. The rhythm of this formation. Destruction. Rebirth. 0.5 repeats for billions of years. 0.5. And through Andromeda, we see how galaxies like ours remain forever in motion. The astronomer Edwin Hubble spoke often of Andromeda's value to science. 0.5, for us, calling his discovery of its true distance, a great widening of our cosmic horizons. That widening continues today. But Andromeda does not only teach us about shape, she uses 0.5 us. It teaches us about evolution. When the James Webb Space Telescope captured its inner structures with unprecedented sensitivity, shares, the images revealed not only brilliant clusters, but scars. Here's 0.5 us, remnants of ancient collisions with smaller galaxies. 0.5 shear, trails of stars stretched thin like memories across the dark. These features are essential clues. 0.5 shears, showing us that galaxies grow not through quiet aging, 0.5 shear, but through encounters. 0.5 shear, mergers, 0.5 shear, struggles, 0.4, and reinvention, or 0.4. And so, 0.5 floss, by watching Andromeda's scars, 0.5, we come to understand our own, 0.5. The Milky Way carries the same history, 0.5, the same cosmic wounds, 0.5, even if we cannot see them. With such clarity from within number 1 horrors, one of the greatest lessons Andromeda offers lies in the realm of dark matter. For decades, 0.5 scientists have traced the movement of its outer stars, realizing they were orbiting far too fast to be held only by visible matter. It was Vera Rubin's studies of galaxies like Andromeda that first provided strong evidence for dark matter. There was 0.55, prompting her to say, for her 0.5 higher, we are living in a universe we barely understand. 1 Narn. And her words still echo today? Shunyan. In Andromeda's halo, 0.5 fun, invisible and vast. For 0.5 fun, we find the quiet gravitational architecture that shapes galaxies, which are 0.5 fun, anchors stars, for 0.5 fun, and guides cosmic evolution. Studying Andromeda's rotation curve helps us map the unseen structures around our own galaxy. And in that process, the 0.5, science becomes a lantern for mystery rather than a cage for certainty. Yet perhaps the most intimate insight Andromeda offers comes not from its past, but from its future. Because Andromeda and the Milky Way are bound to each other. 0.5, drawn slowly by gravity in a dance older than humanity itself. One day, billions of years from now, 0.5, the two galaxies will merge. And when astronomers study Andromeda's interactions with its smaller companions today, Frogger 0.5, they see the preview of our own distant fate. Frogwos in Chonch. As the astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson once reflected, Chakwa 0.55. We are part of this universe. Frogbrijo Busherp, Fafwish, and the universe is part of us. Course. Understanding Andromeda reminds us that even cosmic collisions are not destruction. Thaku 0, Fafwish, but transformation occur from chart. From a personal perspective, coffee 0.5 I find something deeply meditative in this realization. That everything in the cosmos changes, or 0.5 shifts, or 0.5 fish evolves, or 0.5 us. And yet nothing is ever truly lost in Patnoris Unark Wonders. Galaxies merge. Santer Amphier. Stars explode. 0.5. Light travels for millions of years and still arrives gently to our eyes. One nation Noster. Andromeda shows us that transformation is not a threat, but a natural state of being. One for Nars. That even in the vastness of space, here's 0.5. Renewal is always underway. For one mouse, the JWST Andromeda images continue to reveal finer details. 0.5 through sharper edges. 0.5 sui, deeper truths. When correct, each new picture becomes a meditation. There's 0.5. A reminder that the universe is not static. 0.5. Not silent. 0.5, but quietly blooming. Through them, 0.5. We learn again and again that the cosmos is not a cold system of laws. 5, but a living story. And in that story, 0.5 per Andromeda stands as our most generous teacher. Fritz, if there is a lesson we may take from this 0.5, it is that understanding begins with closeness. Read 0.5 with patience. For 0.5 by, with a willingness to look long enough for the universe to reveal itself. Andromeda rewards that willingness. It shows us who we are, or 0.5 fos, where we came from, for 5, and what we might become. Podcast, in the slow drift of stars and knowledge. 0.5 art. We realize that we are not observers standing outside the cosmos. You're 0.5 Washko, but participants moving within it. And every time we study Andromeda, sure 0.5. Every time we breathe in the soft glow of its light, sure 0.5 Wash, we step a little closer to understanding the universe. 0.5 and ourselves, sure P Strolfers. In the quiet outskirts of the Andromeda galaxy, her Kunch course, far beyond the bright spiral arms we tend to admire. 0.5. There lies a halo made not of light, but of memory. Sharkun's course, a vast sphere of ghostly remnants. Shetro Bob 5, stretching hundreds of thousands of light years into the night. Hadro Ompa by Cross, holding evidence of collisions so ancient that even time seems to whisper when we look at them. Dr. Quansons. Astronomers often say that halos are where galaxies keep their secrets. 0.5 be yours, and when we let our gaze soften. 0.5 Bruce. Those secrets begin to appear as faint stellar streams drifting like quiet rivers of starlight. It is within these streams that we learn the true past of Andromeda that are 0.5. For each one is a scar. 0.5 Tempur, a fragile ribbon drawn across the dark. 0.5, marking the place where a smaller galaxy once fell, inward. And when scientists trace the curvature of these pale trails on 1.0.5, they can determine which mergers happened first. 0. Which ones tore open the galactic outskirts? 0.5 par, and which were gentle enough to disappear almost without a sound. Meteor. As astrophysicist Rosemary Wise once said, the halo keeps the diary long after the galaxy forgets. A reminder that every galactic empire has a history written in light too soft for the eye to catch at first glance. Some of the most ancient clusters buried in this halo have existed longer than any landscape on Earth. Ganris 0.55, longer than the mountains. Is this 0.5, longer than the oceans? For 0.5, almost as long as the universe itself. They orbit like elder monks, Yakur 0.5 blondes, carrying the stillness of billions of years. Gakur 0.5, keeping their shape despite the tides of gravity that tried to unmake them. When we speak of their age, 0.5, we speak in billions. Is 0.5 Gakur, not millions, or 0.5 Fakkork. Each cluster a relic from a cosmic age when the local group was young, Wasimer and Washarbar. These ancient clusters tell us that Andromeda has been gathering companions for eons. Asturo I fart, and each encounter left something behind. Astion Waffer. The reason some stellar streams stretch across astonishing distances is both simple and heartbreaking. 0. Frapur. When a small galaxy moves too close to a giant, or gets 0.54, the tidal forces pull it apart. 0.5 Bukri, scattering its stars like petals on a wind that never ends. Montons. Over millions of years, these petals stretch into lines. 0.5, then into waves. Harkajro, Fafaifois, then into flowing strands that can span hundreds of thousands of light years. Ashun Samaf Manors. These are not just structures. They're structures 0.5. They are the last gestures of galaxies that once had their own centers. Or 0.5 for their own histories. 0.5 for their own skies. Brian Cox once said, 0.55 for every star is a story that learned how to burn. Haikuber. And in Andromeda's halo, Seisushris Fro, Gaku 0.5 Pwa. Every faint smear of light is a story that learned how to endure Yuri Yorn. When we observe them with infrared telescopes, for 0.5 port, the delicate threads reveal the gravitational handwriting of the past. For 0.5 Brule waves that tell us not only who collided with whom, about 0.5 point, but also how galaxies evolve within the vast conversation of the local group. This is why many astronomers say that halos provide the quiet answer to the question of cosmic identity. As a scientist, for 0.54, I cannot look at these star streams without feeling something deeply personal, for 0.5 Hoi. For they remind me that even in destruction, there is continuity. For 0.55 Poi, even in loss, there is a trace left glowing in the dark. And smudge. They are the universe's way of telling us that transformation is not an ending. Gar 0.5 Mai, but simply a change in orbit. Kyo ba atamai. Andromeda teaches us that what breaks apart can still become part of something larger. Nur 0.5. That even the smallest galaxies leave beauty behind. Nur 0.5 hiyam. And that every life, 0.4. Like every star, 0.5. It writes itself into the world long after it fades. When we view these halos from afar, there is 0.5 rare. We see the interconnectedness of galaxies within the local group, explained not by numbers, but by motion. By the way stellar streams weave a larger tapestry, we might never have noticed if we only looked at the bright centers. Year 1 Norse. This perspective is a quiet lesson. A reminder to look beyond what shines. 0.5 false. For the most meaningful patterns often hide in the outskirts. Hirons and mas. And as the voice slows, 0.55 L, as the breath softens. 0.5 fos. Let this halo become a metaphor for your own life. Hirons Schwartz. Perhaps you also carry faint trails of past collisions. 0.5 files. Memories stretch thin across years. 0.5 sons. Moments that shaped you. 0.5 funds, even when you did not realize it. If the universe allows its scars to become rivers of light, Yacha 0.5 here, then maybe we too can let our past glow quietly instead of burdening us. Ashorn. In the end, here 0.5, the halo of Andromeda shows us that nothing truly disappears. 0.5 bars. Every encounter leaves a trace. 0.5 ice. Every loss becomes part of a larger orbit. Hippers or 0.5 Bashur, and every small galaxy. 0.5 Hoi. Just like every person. 0.5 Pi leaves behind a story worth reading if we look gently enough. Damomon not. And as we drift further into this night, a 0.5 Dal, let us carry one thought with us. One na, that the universe remembers everything. 0.5 Dal. And yet, 0.5. It transforms all things into beauty. One Tronner. The motion of the Andromeda Galaxy is one of those cosmic truths that feels almost unreal to the human mind. The Rinchronner, because it speaks in a language of scale and time that our bodies were never designed to sense. Here to 0.4. And yet, her 0.5 Rachar, in the velvety quiet of the night, her 0.5 Rach, when the universe leans a little closer. 0.5 Rach. This great spiral neighbor is rushing toward us with astonishing speed. Shukri Jerch, nearly 250 kilometers every second. Shukri Chot 5 a silent arrow gliding through the dark. Nars. To imagine such motion is to imagine the sky breathing. 0.5 high, shifting. 0.5 high, carrying ancient light across a distance so immense that our own sense of movement dissolves into stillness. Hanson's Carl Sagan once said that understanding the universe requires a kind of courageous imagination. Dama 0.5 pars, a willingness to stretch our perception beyond the boundaries of our immediate experience. Sure, Huaran sparse. And nowhere is that more true than in the story of Andromeda rushing toward the Milky Way, Yawarn Namors. It moves because gravity is a patient sculptor, number 0.5 Hamprav, tugging gently on both galaxies as if drawing them together for a meeting written into the fabric of space-time itself. The Rionininader. Gravity notices what our senses do not, 0.5 core. It pulls hard 0.5 core. It gathers 0.5 core. It binds upward downward. And in the quiet choreography of a local group, 5 Park, Andromeda and our galaxy are simply following the ancient steps of that cosmic dance. The great paradox is this, 0.5, even though we are moving toward each other at a tremendous velocity, 0.5 Hawk, you and I cannot feel it. We stand on the earth and feel nothing but the gentle steadiness beneath our feet. The reasons found in perspective. 0.5 scale. In the very nature of human sensation. Motion in the universe is not something measured by the body, but by the mind. By instruments. By patient watching across centuries. Our planet orbits the sun. Our sun orbits the center of the Milky Way. The Milky Way itself moves through a vast and invisible ocean of dark matter. Every layer of this motion is enormous. Summer, constant. And utterly beyond our nervous system's ability to detect the movements are so smooth, so sustained, such 0.5 bursts, so free of sudden changes, 0.5 that we feel nothing at all. It is like drifting on a perfectly calm sea at night. The water carries you. 0.5. The earth carries you. 0.5. The galaxy carries you. 0.5. All in a silence too large to notice. As the astrophysicist Vera Rubin said, 0.5, the universe is full of motion. 0.5, but it is also full of gentleness. Her words echo here. 0.5 here, reminding us that velocity in the cosmos can feel like stillness when spread across millions of light years. Shepherds up our brains. Another reason we cannot feel Andromeda's approach is that motion becomes meaningful to us only through changes in our immediate environment. Kabayus or Nigars, a gust of wind. Kabayu 0 Paisify, the sway of a ship. Kagru 0.5, the vibration of the earth beneath our feet. Agarisun tours. Galactic motion offers none of these cues. Kagru 0.5 force. It is slow in its effect, even when fast in its numbers. Tobiusun torrents. It is movement too vast to stir the human senses. Kagru 0.5 force, but not too vast to stir the human imagination. And so astronomers turn to light, to the way its wavelength shifts when an object moves toward or away from us. Her 0.5. This is how we know Andromeda is rushing closer. Its light is slightly compressed. Cursor shifted into the blue. 1.9. A phenomenon Edwin Hubble once described as the universe whispering its motion into the color of the sky. N9. There is something profoundly soothing about this knowledge. Something that reminds us that even the grandest motions of the cosmos can unfold with exquisite softness. This is where science becomes a lullaby. 0.5. A place where facts do not shout, but exhale. For 0.5. Where understanding becomes a kind of meditation. For 0.5. And in this quiet, for 0.5, a question arises that often feels more philosophical than physical. If we are always in motion, 0.5, always being carried. 0.5, always drifting through a sea of stars. Or 0.5. And what does stillness truly mean? Someone knows. The answer is 0.5. I believe 0.5 is that stillness is not the absence of movement, or 0.5, but the presence of awareness. When we look up at Andromeda, marker 0.5 glowing like a soft lantern at the edge of the night. For us. We touch that awareness. We become part of the grand frame instead of the tiny moment. This is the quiet lesson the universe gives us. That scale changes everything. 0.5, that what feels rushed in our daily lives becomes peaceful when seen from a cosmic perspective. Matter one nurse. Andromeda is not crashing toward us in chaos. 0.55. It is simply doing what galaxies do. Hour 0 source, 5 verse, following the path gravity carved for it long before the Earth existed. There is comfort in that Aberushnar's comfort, in knowing that the universe is not disorderly, but deeply structured. Deeply connected. Deeply patient. And as we drift through the night, letting the stars rest gently above us, we can breathe with the understanding that motion is not something to fear, but something to float upon. Perhaps that is why soothing science narration touches people so deeply. It reminds us that the universe is vast. 0.5 courses, but not indifferent. It is immense. 0.5, but not violent in every gesture. Sometimes. Even galactic motion is a lullaby. And so as Andromeda drifts closer across millions of years, we can let ourselves drift too. Not away from life. But deeper into it. Because to understand the universe is to understand ourselves. And perhaps the greatest truth is this. Even in a rushing cosmos, you can choose the stillness within. In the quiet drifting place where thought softens into starlight. The Andromeda galaxy reveals itself not merely as a solitary wanderer, but as a vital member of what astronomers call the local group Namait Bao One Nak, a cosmic family of galaxies bound together by gravity and by the slow patience of time. Manmak. When we speak of the local group Banra, Zur, 0.5 Ak, we usually imagine a few familiar names, Akabru 0.5, yet this celestial neighborhood contains more than 50 galaxies, Ekshuk 0.5 Hibars. Most of them, small dwarf companions whose faint glow rarely reaches the imagination of those who gaze upward. Among them, our Shurk group of 5 Fras, Andromeda, stands gently but unmistakably as the largest U0.5 Evolve, stretching its luminous arms over more than 200,000 light years. 0.5 Evolve, an expanse so great that the mind feels like sand, drifting through an hourglass when attempting to grasp its scale, And when I reflect on this enormity, on 0.5ers, I often hear Carl Sagan's quiet voice echo inside me, or 0.5ers, reminding us that we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. In this moment, during this astronomy sleep meditation, for 0.5 us, it is as if Andromeda is not just an object of study, but a mirror held up to human wonder. Nessers. The reason Andromeda claims the title of the largest galaxy in the local group rests not in arrogance, but in a long historical journey of mergers and cosmic meals. 0. Baifi. As if it had spent billions of years gathering lost travelers and weaving them into its spiral arms. Its mass is swollen with ancient collisions. 0.5 remnants of devoured dwarf galaxies still drifting like memories in its vast halo. Shakkamar. Astronomer Sandra Faber once said, Shark 0.5. The history of a galaxy is written in the streams of stars that surround it. Shakur Wanderers. When we look at Andromeda's halo, Shakur 5 hours, we are reading a story older than continents. Shakur Gomorn for Fifferweist. Older than oceans? Shakur 0.5 hours, older than the quiet pulse of life on Earth. Gorinyal for Lenors. And this is why Andromeda feels so immense. Sekrajur 0.5 for us. Not only in physical size, but in the weight of everything it carries. Yet, even within this vastness, Andromeda is not alone. It shares a gravitational bond with our Milky Way. And with the smaller but spirited Triangulum galaxy number 1 Nur. These three dance through space in a slow waltz that takes billions of years. You just 0.5. Their motions shaped by dark matter, show 0.5 hours, by invisible scaffolding that holds the local group gently together. Sonors. When I visualize their paths, 0.5 force. I feel as if I am watching three lanterns drifting on a cosmic river. 0.5. Each pulling on the water around the other. Shionos, not in violence. 0.5 fell, but in a rhythm older than human memory. One and one. It is a reminder that even galaxies, 0.5, with all their power, 0.5 are beholden to relationships. Short for one none. For me, circle 5. There's a quiet lesson in that. A reminder that strength does not isolate. It connects upper one nonks. There's something deeply humbling in knowing that the Milky Way and Andromeda are slowly drawing closer. A silent embrace that will not fully unfold for about 4 billion years. NASA scientist Roland van der Marle described it gently. 0.5 saying, 0.5 when galaxies interact, under 0.5 holder, they change each other forever. And when I imagine that future, her 0.5 I do not feel fear. Her 0.5 instead, 0.5 I feel a sense of cosmic inevitability. Her 5 as if two old friends have been traveling toward a reunion written long before stars were born. One Tormas. The gravitational link between Andromeda, 0.5, the Milky Way, 0.5 and Triangulum is not merely a physical force, or 0.5. It is a story of belonging. Yonchomor. During moments of stillness, Sakunchi 0.5, I often think about what it means to be part of a group of galaxies bound together through time. 0.54, even as the universe expands and tries to pull everything apart. Frontwars. The local group is a shelter. Hokerhu.5, a gravitational sanctuary. Karkatru.5, and Andromeda is one of its guiding lights. It teaches us that even the largest structures are shaped by unseen forces. Herba 0.5, and that power alone means little without the gravity of connection. There is a soft wisdom in this. A message I carry into the quiet corners of my own life. We too belong to groups. Fashamari families. Escher 0.bound circles of influence that shape us in ways we cannot always see. Just as Andromeda grew through countless interactions, Rarsirot 0.54, we grow through ours. Just as galaxies are pulled toward one another, 0.5, drawn by a force they cannot escape. 0.5, we are drawn toward the people and experiences that help us become who we truly are. And just as Andromeda holds space for its smaller companions, perhaps we too can learn to hold space for others. In the end, is 0.5, when we look at Andromeda as a member of the local group, we're 0.5. You're not just studying astrophysics. Her 0.5s, you're studying relationship. Her 0.5 history. 0.5 memory. 0.5 and the gentle way gravity ties everything together. And in this slow 0.5 meditative unfolding, a 0.5 pause, I feel the truth of Neil deGrasse. Tyson's words, 0.5 pa. The universe is under no obligation to make sense to you. 0.5 pause. Yet it does. One pause. It does because we listen ham. There quamfes vescus. Because we look softly into the dark. And because somewhere in that darkness, Andromeda whispers back,